Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Green Room for DisrupTV. I'm broadcasting live from our Silicon Valley studios, which means I'm actually home. I'm here with amazing co-host Vala Afshar, our producer Elle, and of course, our wonderful guest. It's a tradition. We actually introduced everyone in reverse order in the Green Room and asked them where they're coming in from and what they're going to talk about today very quickly. And then, of course, we'll kick off in the show. For those following along, follow us on X, follow us on LinkedIn, and of course, other channels. And of course, feel free to actually ask your questions. You can actually put them through, and sometimes we'll go through your comments. So with that, let's kick it off. Steve, where are you coming in from, and what are we talking about today?
I'm coming to you from hot Dallas, Texas, and I'm going to be talking about my book, Leaders Leap, Transforming Your Company at the Speed of Disruption.
Very, very cool. Really excited. Looking forward to hearing more about your book. There's a book flash. There we go. And of course, Kartik, where are you coming in from?
Hi, I'm coming in from Palo Alto, California. And, I'm a professor at the Wharton School. I'm founder of Jump Cut Media, and a lot of my work is focused on AI applications in creative industries like Hollywood. So that's what I'll be talking about.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. We're going to talk more. I can't wait. And of course, many of you guys know we have our AI forum in New York City, September 23rd. And we'll probably do one out in Palo Alto as well in October. Grant, where are you coming in from? What are we talking about?
Well, it's Friday, Ray, so I'm up in wine country in Sonoma County. So we're going to talk about AI, our favorite subject.
And specifically, I have to make my way up there. I have to make my way up there on the way to the Snoopy Museum, and we're going to find some way to break bread and break some wine as well. Get some wine buttons out of the way. All right. Well, with that, hey, back to you, Ellen. Let's kick off the show.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us on DisrupTV. My name is Vala Afshar. I'm the Chief Digital Evangelist for Salesforce and your co-host for the next hour. We welcome you to follow us on X at DisrupTV Show. Send Ray, myself, our distinguished guest, your questions live, and we'll do our best. Was that you doing the X? That's pretty awesome. It's my pleasure to introduce my co-host, Ray Wang. He's the CEO, founder of Constellation Research. He's the best-selling author of Everyone Wants to Rule the World. Everybody wants to rule the world. He's on TV every day. I see him on Fox Business, Yahoo Finance, Bloomberg, CNBC. He's perhaps the top futurist to follow on X at RWA and G0. Welcome, Ray Wang, to DisrupTV.
Hey, thanks a lot. I'm back home, as you can tell. And this is our amazing co-host, Vala Afshar, the Chief Digital Evangelist for Salesforce. He's also the author of multiple books, including Boundless, A New Mindset for an Unlimited Business Success, and a #1 seller on Amazon. Please get your book today. Executives around the world pay attention to every one of his inspirational, insightful tweets. And when he's not hosting, keynoting, or leading events at Salesforce, you can find him speaking on business TV outlets such as Bloomberg and posting insightful analyses on his ZDNet column, one of the top ZDNet columns in the world. So definitely check that out. So with that, let's talk about our amazing guests. Who do we have to kick it off again?
Ray, as you know, the best and brightest CEOs choose to come and share their wisdom with us. And one of our favorite CEOs is Grant Halloran, CEO of Planful. Grant is the Chief Executive Officer of Planful, a leading fintech software vendor based in San Francisco. Grant has over 25 years of experience as a software executive. He's co-founded 3 SaaS businesses and holding leadership positions in companies that have raised over $500 million of capital and created over $11 billion of enterprise value. You can find Grant on both LinkedIn and X at Grant Halloran, Halloran. Welcome back, Grant, to Disrupt TV.
Always a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Vala. Thanks, Ray. Good to see you both. Ray, we were just together in San Diego at the Planful conference. And since then, I have seen you traveling all over the world. So I'm glad you're back in California.
Well, thanks a lot. I just came back from Tokyo, which was an amazing experience, and we're definitely seeing a lot of transformation going on there. I spent a lot of time asking CFOs and operating folks what's happening in their area. But, the big piece, of course, was AI. And customers like those in Tokyo and the ones that I met with you in San Diego, they were all definitely talking about what's happening in terms of their business and finance teams in terms of where AI was driving value. Share some of those insights. And we had some amazing customers up there, and you're able to I was able to actually talk to them. You're able to share and have all those customers learn from each other. But AI and finance, right? We didn't think that was going to be one of the first places, but it is looking like one of the first places where people are getting value, especially in AI.
Very, very much so. And just for your audience, we are coming up on 2,000. Organizations work with Planful to run their financial performance management processes. So we have a lot of customers from all different industries. When you're running financial planning and reporting and everything, it's like toothpaste. Everyone's got to have it, right? So that vast array of different perspectives creates a commonality. And the one thing that we've found is we've very rapidly moved from sort of a curiosity to massive interest. My chief customer officer was just in London running an event with 50 customers there. Everyone just wanted to talk about very specific things around AI. So to your question, there is so many use cases in finance and accounting. We could spend the whole hour talking about it. We're not going to. I'll pick 3 that are really powerful. The first 2, forecasting. So very complex forecasting processes now are benefiting dramatically from AI. This is taking very complex data sets with thousands of lines of general ledger accounts and being able to, within a minute, generate very sophisticated, highly accurate forecasts. We're seeing that. I would say now coming up on half of our customers have adopted that technology inside our platform. So that's very powerful. Importantly, it's keeping the human in the loop. So what we're seeing most customers do is seed the initial forecast and then review it. And then it's the next use case, which is using our anomaly detection. So when you're talking about tens of millions, sometimes hundreds of millions of data points, it's impossible for humans to detect all of the outliers and anomalies. They can't really find the signal from the noise. So the AI is getting very, very powerful at being able to detect that, surface that up and say, hey, these are the things that we recommend you really focus on. This is saving thousands of hours across very complex planning processes. The last one I'll just mention here is insights. So this is the emerging stuff where the new generative AI, the LLM technologies are coming to bear. So, I think in most companies have solved with platforms like Planful, have solved a computation problem for quite some time, but the AI previously lacked the comprehension and it was unintuitive for humans. So now what this AI technology is doing is it's bringing computation together with comprehension. The LLM technologies are evolving so quickly and improving so quickly, not only in comprehension, but in computation as well. So this is creating very intuitive conversation style experiences where finance people can interact with the Planful platform and be able to ask it questions, and it can go off. It can really quite accurately comprehend what you're seeking in your questions and go away and pull the right information for you.
So no more analysts
and write narratives. What's that, buddy?
No more analysts pulling in reports. So
it's
no more analysts trying to find stuff
it's pretty
interesting.
It's very interesting.
Interns working on report projects. Let's go away. So
We have customers that run 5,000 reports at the end of every month. Can you imagine trying to analyze all of that? So our AI is enabling the customers to just ask questions, and we can go in and pull out the relevant things from those very vast historical data sets. So it's pretty exciting. It's very, very exciting stuff.
So gleaning from your comments, it seems like 2023 was year of discovery, year of exploration. 2024 is year of adoption and seeing real value. To the fact that 50% of your customers are enabling their forecast process using AI. I don't know if I've ever in my career in technology experienced this rate of adoption and this level of interest, where unlike other technologies like cloud computing and mobile and social, where these were IT-driven, IT-sponsored and championed technology, this is something that's beyond IT AI. It's a boardroom discussion. CEOs are interested. All stakeholders want to know how the company is advancing and maturing. Fast forward to a couple of years from now, 2, 3, 5 years from now, can you help us understand what the future holds for companies running financial operations using AI? Where do you see this technology enabling businesses 3 to 5 years from now?
I'm going to make a very obvious initial prediction, which is productivity gains are going to be incredible, absolutely incredible. And that's somewhat obvious. I'm sure everyone in the audience is like, yeah, okay, that's pretty obvious. In my opinion, let's say in the next 5 to, and let's maybe be conservative, say 10 years, I think there are many functions inside established companies that could be run better at maybe 1/10 of the current cost, right? Wow. An order of magnitude less. Absolutely. I mean, we are seeing the adoption rate is so fast and the technologies are improving so quickly, but the adoption rate is so fast, Vala, because it just works. It's artificial intelligence. It gets so much smarter, so much more quickly than humans can. And that's what's different to previous technology eras or generations or new paradigm shifts, whatever you want to call it. That's what we're seeing. So I think productivity is there. But a warning for business leaders from my perspective. I saw a post on X. I think it was Zero Hedge. I should have looked it up before this. They said, the mentions of operational efficiency in quarterly earnings calls had skyrocketed recently. Okay, and so I would like to just throw out a little warning here to business leaders. I would not solely fixate on productivity gains. I think the emphasis needs to also be on growth. The reason is that if you're an established company today, you have a strong market share in your space. The disruptors have always been coming for you. Well, we are now in an era where those disruptors are coming so much more quickly, and they're AI-built companies from the ground up. They are coming for your market share so much more quickly. That's a warning, and you're going to have to focus on growth, and growth drives change faster than cutting, in my opinion. Right. So if you orientate your company just around operational efficiency and productivity gains and reducing workforce, you're going to miss out on the medium-term threat. You're not going to avoid this threat, which is the disruptors are going to march on in and start taking market share at a very fast pace.
I want to follow up on that a bit. Do you think AI is helping business leaders identify waste? Because I think removing waste is important, because all waste have costs associated with it, but not all costs are wasteful.
Yes.
So when we talk about productivity, are we also is the technology helping companies identify waste and in a smart, precise way remove waste, which means removing cost? And at the same time, ensure that you're not cutting on things that are actually delivering value to your customers and employees and partners, which often includes the human touch, because an order of magnitude reduction in expenses is that at the cost of labor. or is it computing cost is going to be less? It's going to potentially be less labor, and there's multiple dimensions in terms of how we get there.
I think you're right. I mean, I think all businesses should be looking to cut waste all the time, and this is a fast track method to do that. But I think you have to do both. I mean, if you're not, what I'm saying here is that board members and CEOs and their executive teams need to be talking just as much about how we're going to change customer experience, how are we going to improve our sales optimization, how are we going to develop products faster, how are we going to test those products faster in the market. And AI can enable all of those things. They're very growth oriented. I just think that the shorter term, yes, there's elimination of waste and everything else, and that should be a perennial endeavor in every company. But in the medium term, there's an existential risk for many companies, and it's not because the AI is going to come and take away their business. It's other companies that are going to be a tenth of your size. They're going to be so much more nimble, and everything they're AI first in the way they build everything, and they engage their customers. They're going to be very, very hard to defeat. That's the point I'm making. So you need to balance both.
No, Grant, you're absolutely right. There are companies that are going to use AI for defense, but the companies that are using AI for offense, you better be ready, right? That asymmetry is going to be huge. It's something we call margin compression. Literally, you have to be 10 times better at 1/10 the cost. And if you're AI built, AI first, and AI designed at that beginning, we're definitely seeing that. And these are some interesting observations you've got here. Talking about what executives need to know to prepare to teams for AI. Not just focused on cost. Anything else that when you see that gets you excited when it comes to AI and AI technologies, or other things that executives should think about? Is it a cultural change? Is it dimension? Is it things they need to do to prepare their data? Like, what are other things that you give advice to?
I'll start with the last question, which is just some advice. So I'm a big believer in divergent then convergent thinking, right? So I've experienced this in our own company where we just allow people to organically experiment with AI tools. We kept track of who was doing what and how they were using it, but we didn't want to come in with a sort of top-down corporate program day one. We just said, look, let's spend 6-9 months letting people play with the tools organically. And then we did qualitative discussions with them. What were you seeing with the benefits? Like, we weren't measuring anything because we didn't want it to be too strict. So that's a divergent approach. Then we started to converge into step 2, which is more a program for AI adoption in the company, and that's really now we can figure out what tools we're going to give people. Build a roadmap, and this is a complex roadmap because there's a lot of swim lanes, within each function, and cross-functionally there's so many different use cases. So it's actually a very complex roadmap. And then the final part of that is measurement, being able to put inside that program the instrumentation to measure what benefits we're actually getting from, whether it's customer satisfaction improvements, whether it's cost savings, whatever it is. The next advice I'd just give there is talent is absolutely crucial. And this could be a whole podcast on talent in the AI world. But what I've noticed is that the younger generations are your friend when it comes to AI. So the Gen Z, the new Gen Alpha that's coming through. We have the traditional summer internships at Planful that many companies do. And the excitement and enthusiasm from these interns, they're all working on AI-related projects, whether it's in our products or inside our adoption inside our company. The energy and enthusiasm is just palpable. They're fresh thinking, they're excited, they're not conditioned and set in their ways, right? So I think that's a very powerful thought for a lot of business leaders is, this next generation of folks coming out of colleges and whatnot, and also advice for anyone that's in college right now, get real good on the AI stuff, because that's what your recruiters are going to be looking for. Exciting things. I'm unabashedly, unapologetically super excited about what Planful's doing. I was in a meeting yesterday, and I tell you, after an hour of envisioning, I said to the top technology guys in the room, I said, is this vision possible? And they said, yes, this is possible. We're going to take a few steps to get there. And I just walked out of the room going, man, this is amazing. This is so good. And then on the personal side, robots, my friend. Oh man, I can't wait to get my home robot.
Personal robot, pretty awesome, man.
The Vision AI. I mean, you guys are probably Tesla guys. It's like, I think what Tesla, not a plug for them, but it's like, Vision AI is going to be so powerful with these robots, understanding what all these different objects in the house are. It's going to very quickly learn that. The one thing we just need to avoid is the robot, going in and checking on the kids at 3 a.m. and scaring the heck out of them. Other than that, I can't wait to get my first robot in.
Oh, that's awesome.
Really
well,
cool.
according to Musk, there's going to be over 8 billion of them. In his latest shareholder meeting, he said there'll be more robots than humans.
Elon's hyperbolic, so maybe he'll get it wrong, and there's only 3, but there's still a lot, right?
Yeah,
we're here with Grant Halloran, CEO of Planful, and you can follow him on X at Grant HALLORAN. And of course, we're talking to practitioners, policy shapers, and of course, pioneers in AI. So thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Grant.
Guys, thank you. Cheers, guys.
One of the top CEOs, and Grant's been on the show for years talking about AI. So it's incredible to see CEOs have this incredible technology on their radar for so long. Okay, our next guest, Kartik Hosanagar, UPenn Wharton professor, director of Wharton AI Center, and author of A Human's Guide to Machine Intelligence, How Algorithms Are Shaping Our Lives and How We Can Stay in Control. Kartik is John C. Howard Professor of Technology and Digital Business and a professor of marketing at the Wharton School of University of Pennsylvania. He's also, again, director of the AI Center. Kartik's research work focuses on digital economy, in particular the impact of analytics and algorithm on consumers and society, internet media, internet marketing, and e-commerce. He's the author of A Human's Guide to Machine Intelligence. Kartik has been recognized as one of the world's top 40 business professors under 40. He's a 10-time recipient of MBA and Undergraduate Teaching Excellence Award at Wharton. Kartik's past consulting and executive education clients include small companies like Google, American Express, Citi, and others. You can follow Kartik on X at KHOSANAGAR. Welcome, Kartik, to DisrupTV.
Well, thank you, Vala and Ray, for having me. And man, that, I need to ask my assistant to send a 2-line bio, not such a long bio.
I cut your bio considerably, given we only have 20 minutes. So you've done a lot.
There are no 2-line bios on DisrupTV.
Co-founder of multiple companies and serves on boards. And yeah, your bio is, but you've done a lot. Congrats.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Pleasure.
Well, we've been going through your stuff and reading it for quite some time. And one of the things that you talk about was the fact that, we can actually reimagine what modern Hollywood studios will look like in this AI era. And we just talked about this earlier, the fact that we have this asymmetry popping up, massive margin compression. You got to do things 10x for 1/10 the cost, right? We're seeing it everywhere, like $100 drones versus $1 million Lockheed missiles, UPI in India, penny per transaction versus 250 basis points, or actually 2,500 basis points for a Swift transaction that could be leaky, right? And we see things like Zoho, and other companies like popping up, with different types of approaches, right? It's all happening in this revolution that's going on. So where can Hollywood start doing this? Because this is actually very important. Hollywood is not a cheap operation. It's got a massive cost structure, but we've got these things, we've got AI, we've got all these things about to disrupt the industry.
Yeah, look, as you were saying, a super interesting industry. It's a massive industry. They're spending a lot of money on content, over $120 billion every year spent on content. But most of that, in fact, almost all of it, is completely driven by gut and relationships. And that isn't working for the industry. So, for example, if you look at what's happened in the last few years, there's been an arms race with Netflix, Amazon, all the various streamers and others spending on content. And mostly it's like throwing spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. And they've all now recognized that they've hit peak viewership. There's no more viewers to get. It's not profitable for them. And so they now need to think about, okay, how do we focus on profitability and operational efficiencies? How do we make sure we can get first of all, the right kinds of movies made, and secondly, get those movies made at 70-80% of the budget so that there's a better chance of break even. And that's really what AI is made for, helping you make better decisions and helping you trim unnecessary costs as well.
So traditionally, Hollywood perhaps has been historically slow to adopt emerging technologies. Can you talk about what you're doing at Jump Cut and how you're helping leaders embrace AI and other important technologies?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Hollywood has historically been slow to adopt technologies. It's always been a people business. There are big personalities in there who are driving everything. But I think this is the first time that software can be applied to large parts of Hollywood, a workflow that's been extremely manual until now. So for example, you look at screenplays, there's over 100,000 screenplays written every year. And then you have books, you have podcasts, you have graphic novels you're considering. There's so much volume coming in. The fact of the matter, and a little secret in Hollywood, people say this, is, the secret of Hollywood is nobody actually reads because there's so much stuff sent, so much to read. For every script you actually read, there's 10 lines there left unread. And you only read what is sent by highly credentialed writers or by your friends. And so there's all of this stuff not being read. And then, of course, beyond that, there's, how do you make sense of online chatter and figure out how to change your marketing of the movies? How do you bring technology into production and so on? And so we're trying to solve some of these problems for Hollywood, starting with, screenplay summarization and evaluation. So we help ingest a lot of the screenplays. Our systems will do an AI pre-read of the screenplays, provide them the information so that then those scripts are not lying unread, right? So you hear all these stories about this script was lying in Hollywood for 10 years before somebody discovered it, and your gold might be in your unread pile. So our system is trying to help you find that gold and make sure you read stuff that, is just sitting there gathering dust.
Well, we see actually phases in AI, as you know, like we're going from augmentation to, I'd say, acceleration to automation to agents and then advisors. And when we bring all these folks together into that mix, right, it's got a very, very different market, right? And there are different use cases that keep popping up in those scenarios. We saw the strikes with SAG and WGA, right? And AI coming in. How's that going to play out in the long run? Because, we ask three questions when we talk about AI. When and where do you insert the human, right? We ask, do you have enough data to get to level of precision that stakeholders will trust? And then the third one, which everyone loves in terms of, LA, like who do you sue when something goes wrong? So we got the situation where, how do we do this if we get a human AI interface? When do we implement AI? Like what's going to be the right balance? At least what do you see for the Hollywood business?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, even though we're saying Hollywood has not historically adopted technology, it's in our software in a big way. It's also probably the most interesting industry right now to look at, to understand how AI will impact people, society, industries, and so on. Because as you said, one of the first strikes to bring up AI were the Hollywood, Writers Guild strike and then the Screen Actors Guild strike. So it's pretty clear that there are some big concerns with applying AI to work in general and certainly within Hollywood as well. I mean, my view and our approach within the company is, first and foremost, you've got to be very clear of what your vision is for what the future looks like with AI. And I'm very clear personally in my research, but also at my company, our vision is AI as a co-pilot. And so it's all about figuring out how do you support humans, enhance their productivity, allow them to make better decisions, take away some of the grunt work, allow them to do the interesting things, and give humans control. So we've designed a lot of our stuff for that, to ensure that when people use our tools, it's not that they actually back off. In fact, our entire approach of taking this to Hollywood has not been going to the studio bosses, the CFOs and CEOs, and saying, here's a tool that can get rid of a bunch of employees and bring the cost down. Instead, it's been, let's start bottom up and let's get the creative producers to use it. And when they love it, we then go to the bosses and say, look what's happening to the productivity of your people. So it's Copilot first, win the trust of the people who use it. The other thing that we've also been very clear about is, at least in a creative industry like Hollywood, let's not start off by building AI that can write screenplays or using AI to replace actors and so on, because that's, for a creative industry, distasteful. It's not respecting creativity, not respecting creators, and so on. Let's start with operations. When a movie is made, that one screenplay is moving from one person to the other. They're agents reading it, providing notes, writer sending it back, the agent has to process it, then a producer shares notes, then somebody else gets involved to figure out budgeting, then someone else has to figure out casting. It's moving around, and there's a whole workflow. How do we make that workflow efficient?
Or Kartik, or just scanning the web for IP, IP infringement, right? That's even better, right? Let's bring some money back to people here.
That's right. Respecting copyright is sort of the first place where you even think about AI in Hollywood. Once you show that you're actually, first, when you're using AI, respecting copyright, but also leveraging AI to detect that, that's beautiful.
You're in a university environment, so you're surrounded by digital natives, people that were born mobile and social. All their applications are in the cloud. All their favorite apps are powered by AI, whether it's, streaming video or music. It's like Clay Christensen, who wrote famously in Innovator's Dilemma, you may hate gravity, but gravity doesn't care. You could substitute AI or generative AI as a substitute for the word gravity. So when you've democratized and spread a creative work where anyone at low cost can produce beautiful things, how do you see generative AI reshaping this creator economy more broadly? I mean, certainly there's trust barriers, certainly there's threat to jobs and potential roles within business, but take us on a journey of what this Gen AI capability how it will reshape, the media industry in the near future.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that, so I'm going to hold myself and try and keep this.
No. Tell us more.
Oh, okay.
Do not hold back. We don't want you to hold back at all.
Okay. Because I'm what you just asked me, I'm super excited about, because I think AI can just unleash a whole new era of creativity. First and foremost, as you said, it lowers barriers. Today, a kid in a college or high school has to get approvals from all the gatekeepers to go make movies. But in a matter of 2-3 years, video is going to have its ChatGPT moment, and a kid in a garage is going to make a movie with really high production value without blessing from any gatekeepers. So I think first and foremost, it will be a great democratizing force for that reason. The result of that is also going to be, there's going to be a flood of content coming in. And so as if we don't have enough content, we're going to have even more. So I think the platforms will become even more powerful because their algorithms are going to direct our attention more when there's just too much content to select from. So I think the power shifts from the current gatekeepers to the ones who are controlling the discovery algorithms. I think even within Hollywood, a movie is made, you want to launch it in multiple markets simultaneously. It's expensive to re-record, lip syncing, all of that stuff. With AI, you can translate, lip sync in no time, release in parallel in all these markets. And specifically what we do, there's so many scripts coming in, so there's not enough time. You outsource the work to overworked interns. There's no institutional memory of what's been read in the last 2 years. So our tool is basically helping them evaluate, summarize screenplays. What is it about? What is this movie similar to? if I'm an agent in Hollywood, does my client have enough screen time in this movie if I send it to them? Can I chat with this system and say, hey, Netflix wants to buy a young adult comedy that is set in the Midwest or something like that? What have we read in the last 3 years that fits this mandate? So that's the kind of stuff where there's, AI can help power a lot of these things.
That's awesome. Awesome use cases. Go ahead, Greg.
No, it's definitely very cool. And what I want to ask you was really like, as we evolve into a lot of generative AI content versus authentic human-driven content, will we actually have the ability to distinguish what was AI created versus what was human created? Do you care about that lineage? Does Hollywood care about that lineage? And what are you seeing in that marketplace?
Yeah, I think, look, it'll get harder and harder to separate what is human created, what's AI created. Especially, I think what's going to happen is, humans are going to use AI to enhance their productivity. So the distinction might not even be that clear. This is human created, that's AI created. It'll be like
the singularity of Hollywood.
I don't think so. There's already evidence that people do prefer human created content, especially in arts and so on. I still want like an amazing human created painting on my wall, even if I can get a beautiful printout of an AI creation. But I think what might happen is that it's almost like, handcrafted. You get a certification, something is handcrafted, you charge a premium, but it's not the mainstream of the market. I think maybe that there's going to be some people who are at the premium of the handcrafted content creation, who are not going to dominate the market, but they will have a premium just because they're amazing at that handcrafted stuff. But the more routine stuff, I'll be honest, a lot of the stuff that Hollywood makes is not that amazing. And so if it's AI created or AI enhanced, I don't care. But yes, if you have an amazing director say that, look, I didn't use any technology, everything was handcrafted, I would go want to watch that amazing creator, and their movie.
My last question to you, if I'm a student in your class and I take a semester of your courses, what am I walking away with? What are some of the exciting things you're working on? How are you inspiring your students to think differently about technology, think differently about marketing, and frankly, think differently about how content's going to be produced in the future so they can, intelligently pick a career path that can not only bring them joy, but help create wealth and I guess joy and happiness for them.
Yeah. I will answer your question, but first I'll give you a little secret of teaching, is that we can talk about what the students get out of my class, but a lot of it is what do I get out of the students, to be perfectly honest, because these are very young, highly capable people who think differently, who don't know the limits of what's possible, who've not been jaded by, corporate life and so on. And so what I get, when I was working on my startup, I took a 2-3 year leave when I was starting up. And when I went back to the classroom after 2.5 years, the energy I felt from being with these people, it was just great for me. So first and foremost, yes, students get stuff out of the professors, but the fact is when you're in a college environment, the energy that I get out of it is just amazing. But coming back to your question, my course is called Enabling Technologies, and it's meant to be an overview of the tech sector and meant to help them understand how technology can enable business ideas, startup ideas, and enable new product creation and so on. And one of the most satisfying parts of that is, I'll often get emails from students saying, oh, I changed my career plans after this course, and I have a new appreciation for technology as a game changer, and now I feel I can participate in it even though I did not have an engineering background, and now I feel I have enough of an understanding of what's inside the black box, that I want to participate in that space. And so I've had many students enter this space, and many students who've also started companies, and they've kind of said that the course inspired them to go take their idea and go implement it. And so that's been the best part of it. And I've invested in many of my former students, and it's produced a really nice return for me. And so that's, again, one of those things where when you have a student in class every week, twice a week for 14 weeks, you get to know these people really well. And after school, I do a walk back to downtown with me, so which basically walk from campus to home, and we discuss their startup ideas. So it's one where it's the learning continues both for the student and for me outside the classroom as well. So it's
That's legacy work. That's legacy work. That's fantastic. That was awesome answer. Thank you.
Yeah,
For all
Kartik, it's
your
awesome.
listeners, you've got a chance to, for your listeners, I was just going to say, you've got a chance to teach, go do it. It'll be one of the most fulfilling things you'll do.
We're looking for an invitation, and Ray and I can sit in the back of the classroom and listen to you for an hour. That would be cool.
All right,
I
you guys join
15
me.
minutes from my house. I'm in. So I think Vala's out here in July. We'll come attend a class with you. But hey, more importantly, there's some great analogies between the Valley and Hollywood, right? Studios are the startups, directors are the CEOs, producers are the VCs, actors and actresses are the star engineers, right? I mean, that's kind of how this model works. And so, yeah, 1 out of 10 movies will do well. 3 out of 10 movies, man, your studio's a hit, right? I mean, it's the same kind of analogy that we always forget to bring back between the West Coast, between Silicon Valley and Silicon Valley, right? Like, it's kind of the interesting way that we look at this thing. So it's part of the model. Hey, we'd love to have you. AI Forum is in New York. If you're there, September 23rd. And of course, we have our conference, Constellation Connected Enterprise in Half Moon Bay. We'll talk more. That's October 28th. But Kartik, thank you so much for being on the show. And of course, you can follow him at Hosanagar, Hosanagar. And of course, thank you for being here. So happy Friday.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Cheers. That's great. It's great to have professionals like that who are entrepreneurs who have built successful businesses, teaching our future leaders. Speaking of, a person that comes in at the end, hits a grand slam and expands our minds, Steve Dennis, a renowned thought leader on business strategy innovation, and author of Leaders Leap, Transforming Your Company at the Speed of Disruption. Steve is a strategic advisor, keynote speaker, podcast host, and best-selling author of Remarkable Retail. Steve has been named a top global retail influencer by multiple organizations, and his thoughts on the future of shopping are regularly shared in his role as Forbes senior contributor, as well as thoughts on media, including CNN, Wall Street Journal, and Bloomberg. As a sought-after keynote speaker, Steve has delivered talks on 6 continents. Ray, Steve might have to be sharing his unique perspective.
He's probably beat me by 5.
Reignite. Reignite customer growth in a world of unrelenting change and shifting customer preferences. Steve is also president of Sageberry Consulting, where he's advised dozens of brands on their growth and strategies. Prior to founding Sageberry, Steve was chief strategy officer and senior vice president of multi-channel marketing at Neiman Marcus Group. You can follow Steve on X as Steven, STEVEN, Dennis, DENNIS. Welcome, Steve, to DisrupTV.
Thanks. I think I got to work on a shorter bio as well, but it's great to be with you guys.
You don't get to choose bios on DisrupTV.
We only have super accomplished people on the show. You're definitely super accomplished.
So, hey, we're excited to have you here. And, you're going to laugh. I've had a Neiman Marcus card since I was 7. They didn't do like birthday checks. But anyways, you say
Thank you for your service.
Well, yeah, I'm paying for someone's college tuition. You say that Leaders Leap is a kind of your version of the Innovator's Dilemma, right? And that was a seminal book. Talk a little bit about what you mean there. And you start the book with "Mind the Gap," right? I mean, let's go there. That's actually a pretty cool way to do that. So I leave in your hands.
Well. Thanks. Well, it was funny that Vala mentioned Clayton Christensen earlier. Yeah, people know that the Innovator's Dilemma, this idea that that legacy companies are often most vulnerable to disruption was an idea that I've been interested in for a long time. But when Clayton Christensen wrote The Innovator's Dilemma, it was really a pre-digital age. That book is from the 90s. And while, e-commerce existed, we hadn't gone through the waves of e-commerce and then smartphones and 5G and cloud computing and now AI. So I think we're in a very different world where disruption is happening even more profoundly, even faster. So what I wanted to try to do is take a look at those ideas in a more contemporary context. But the other thing is I wanted to try to answer this question, which has been dogging me, I guess, for quite some time to varying degrees. If the world is changing so much, why are you changing so little? And in some cases, the you is the brand or the organization. In the other cases, it's the leader themselves. And there are plenty of great books, not only Professor Christensen's, but Blue Ocean Strategy, Good to Great, et cetera, that deal with this question from a more strategic perspective. And then you've got folks like Brene Brown that deal with it from less of a strategic perspective, more of kind of a psychology perspective. I wanted to try to kind of bring those together in hopefully an inspirational way and useful way.
Steve, what inspired you to write the book and write about radical changes that leaders need to make to compete and win at this time?
Well, the idea of this book to a certain degree has been with me for maybe 20 plus years, because I started my retail career at Sears in the early 1990s, and eventually I made it up to the senior leadership team. And as I'm sure most people will know, on the one hand, Sears at one point was the most valuable retailer on the planet, and now basically doesn't exist. And we've seen for many, many years, these iconic brands, go from the pinnacle of success to either being largely irrelevant or in some cases extinct. And not just in retail, we see this in plenty of other industries. So I wanted to really go after, what are the root causes of why transformations fail? And can I bring anything new to the equation? And I didn't really want to just get into the strategic points, though I do make some strategy points in the book. I also wanted to get, really directly into why leaders, what are those things that get in the way of leaders doing the things that in many cases they know to do. I can tell you at Sears, it wasn't like we weren't aware that the business was suffering over an extended period of time. It wasn't like we didn't have plenty of ideas about what to do. It's just when the moment of truth arose, we didn't do it. And you see this playing out in lots of companies right now. And my favorite, sector to pick on right now would be the department store sector. You have Macy's, Kohl's, JCPenney. All these businesses have been in trouble for more than 20 years. Every year their business gets worse. And every year they do almost nothing of any consequence to address that problem. And why? So it's not just about department stores, but it's a broader question. But I just think we see lots of examples around of companies that were once very powerful that have not adapted for this new age. But the other thing too is the positive side is to say, well, if you understand the pace of disruption, if you understand what you need to do, how do you seize those opportunities? So there's supposed to kind of the defensive turnaround part of it, and then there's the more positive, proactive part of it.
Just a fun fact before you ask a question, Ray. I worked at Sears from 16 to 26, all through high school, all through undergraduate, and all through graduate school. And one of the reasons I never left Sears is because you would get 3% commission on just about everything you sold. So at 19 years old, I think I made $35,000 working at Sears. So part
Vala
of the
was only in the
decline has been
craftsman
their
department.
incredible
He was only in the
generosity.
craftsman department.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you invested it all in NVIDIA stock, and
I wish.
Vala was only in the craftsman department. So
yeah.
I was in the hardware department for 10 years. Yeah.
Division 9.
That was the best spot. But hey, you know what? I mean, it's a good point, right? I have a friend, Love Goyle. He believes he's the father of multi-retail marketing. He was at I'm trying to think about what was that company? he basically did multi-channel retail, and he was one of the folks that kicked Amazon and Walmart out of Brazil at a company called B2W. And before that, he was at the catalog company. It's kind of almost like back in the day, buy now, pay later, kind of like a place. Slipping in my mind, it got bought by Macy's.com. And he was always saying that there were few companies that succeeded in digital and retail because digital cannibalized the store. Right. So people are like, oh, we got 10% gains in digital, and there's like 5% loss in the other part of the store, right? Or 20% loss in the other part of the store. So it never ever caught up. Right. And it's not about buying products or anymore, or services. Right. We've gone to experiences and outcomes. And so it's a very, very interesting shift. So what do we do in this note that we're in an attention economy? Right. Attention is a scarce resource. I always talked about you're competing for people's time and attention. Does that shift the model? Do we have to do something different, as we make that leap?
Well, I think fundamentally, and it's actually one of the points I make in my first book, Remarkable Retail, is in a world of kind of infinite choice, where we are in this constant battle for attention, where the power has flipped to consumers, what it takes to even get noticed in the first place, much less drive engagement, get the sale, build loyalty over time. The bar has just been raised on performance. So one thing I get into in Leaders Leap is to say, and it's, I think, part of the reason why many transformations fail, is that companies don't aim high enough in the value they deliver. There's a tendency, which is very much something that Christensen points out in Innovator's Dilemma, to keep optimizing to make an incrementally better value proposition. And optimization is necessary and fine. But in a world that's changing very quickly, you often have to aim much higher in the value you deliver to win customers, to distance yourself from the competition. But the other thing is you have to move much faster. So the gap that, you mentioned earlier, the mind the gap thing. So the gap that is often getting created now for companies that are doing this incremental improvement and that are going slowly is they keep falling further and further behind. And in many cases, it creates this gap that's impossible to come back for. So just back to the department store example, it's hard to work out now that so much time has passed, and so kind of half measures have been at the heart of what many of these players have done. It's kind of hard to work out, even if they could come up with a brilliant strategy. Could they possibly execute it? Could they potentially finance it? Would Wall Street possibly sign up for some moonshot to try to catch up? So I think it's really paying attention to the customer value and trying to figure out what's that next thing. And in often cases that's leveraged by technology, not always, but I think as the prior guests were talking about, AI is such a great example of where value is going to get delivered at 10x the rate that it might have been delivered 6 months ago, 12 months ago.
Well, also at 1/10 the cost, right? That's
exactly.
A crazy piece, right?
So this exponential, I think one of the things we see is this exponential progression much more than the linear progression. And obviously, when you're in a digital world, you're often able to disseminate value much more quickly than, back when I started in retail, 98% of all retail was done in physical stores. So yeah, we were losing market share to Home Depot, but it was slow because it was taking them a long time to build out all these stores. Well, that's not always the case right now, where we're competing in a digital world more and more.
Let's expand the conversation from our prior guest. But in your book, you talk about leaders have fundamentally misunderstood risk, where slow and steady doesn't win the race. And you had a CEO at the top of our show say, in a course of a year, 5,000 clients, half of them are already adopting and using AI. So if you don't understand the risk associated with ignoring what could fundamentally be electricity for the 21st century, AI, can you talk about the role of AI what role it plays in retail moving forward? And are business leaders ready to understand risk associated with ignoring technologies like AI?
Well, I think the core issue, it's one of the chapters that I label safe as risky, which is, in a world that's changing very quickly, to not move at what I call the speed of disruption, which will vary depending upon your sector, your industry, your company. So you have to understand the pace. Not every business is changing at this exponential rate. But if you're not moving at the speed of disruption, you're falling further and further behind. So when we get confronted with technological shifts, like the potential of generative AI in particular, not I mean, it's hard to say, I would say, and I don't claim to be an expert in AI, but when I work with clients and I look at what's going on in retail in particular, it's clear that the disruptive potential is massive. And there's lots of different use cases that could be incredibly profound, some of which are going to happen quickly, some of which are going to happen, many years down the road. So I think the main thing is to have this culture of experimentation, to be getting smarter, to standing up pilots, to work with, whether it's academic institutions, technology providers, consulting partners, whatever it might be, to understand what's going on and to place some smart bets so that when things become more clear, you're able to step on the gas. And so I think, the world's becoming more, the other thing is the pace of change is increasing, but I would argue it's becoming harder and harder to understand what's likely to happen, not only for geopolitical reasons, there's all sorts of reasons why we're in an uncertain, complex world. So in that world, you have to be much more open to more possibilities. You have to put agility into the system. You have to put this culture of experimentation into place. You have to be willing to be wrong. You have to be humble to admit. One of the other points I make in the book, just quickly, because I know we're coming up on time, is I find more and more that ego is one of the things that gets in the way. And a particular example of that is if you've been successful in a particular domain, like if you look at a lot of the retailers and you look at their CEOs, many of them got there because they were great at store operations, or they were great at merchandising, or skills that were hugely important in the past. Well, those skills may not be terribly important. In fact, they might be irrelevant. And to keep, if you're, I make this joke about Liam Neeson, you got a very particular set of skills, right? If you keep leveraging those very particular set of skills, you may get stuck from doing the things you need to. So I think we need humility to say, I may not know what I'm doing. Like, I may be very good at a few things, but the kinds of things I need to be good at going forward may be quite different. So I have to be willing to be wrong. I have to bring different people into the conversation, or different companies, or different resources, to be able to figure out what to do and have the confidence to take those bets when those opportunities present themselves.
Great advice. Great advice.
Amazing advice. Seth Godin says, get the book. Bridget Brennan, Hal Lawton, Sally Elliott, Hubert Jolie, Mindy Grossman, Rashad Tapakawala, and Mitch Joel, and our own Tiffany Bova friend. Oh my God, everyone says endorse this book, of course. So check it out. Leaders Leap, transform your company at the speed of disruption. It's already an Amazon bestseller. We're really excited to have you here, and thank you for being on the show this Friday.
Thanks. It's great to be with you guys.
Thank you, Steve. That was great. That was great advice. I love the advice of just maintain a beginner's
in the green room if they're still there. So this was awesome.
Yeah,
great advice, man.
Yeah, humility, maintain a beginner's mindset, experiment, and as Seth Godin famously said, people are not afraid of failure, they're afraid of blame. So as you're experimenting, know that you can make mistakes, you're gonna fall down. And as long as you have a culture that embraces failure as a process of learning and being disruptive, then I think you can compete and succeed in this economy. Ray, please summarize your takeaways of the show in 30 seconds.
For those watching NPR and Frickin' Frack, this is the Stump the Chump moment. So Grant Halloran, started by telling us about what's going on, how AI is being used in finance and operations and planning, transforming businesses. We also talked about where the world is being transformed. We saw a complete conversation about where Hollywood is going and AI. I keep calling it margin compression. I think I'm changing the word. It's asymmetric advantage to be 10x better at 1/10 the cost. That's actually what's happening. These are all concepts you'll see in my next book. But what's going to be interesting is the fact that every industry is about to be transformed. And if you are standing behind and you're unable to make that leader's leap, well, you're going to be in trouble. And that's what Steve actually wrapped up by talking about what needs to be done, where leaders actually have to transform their thought process, think about where they're going to make that next move, and more importantly, fight internal complacency, and more importantly, stand up to be able to make that transformational change. So if you're following on this episode, right, this is really where AI is headed. We're in the forefront of what we call pioneers that are actually making this happen. These aren't the policy shapers. These are the pioneers and practitioners that are driving where that future is.
That's awesome. That's amazing. What a great summary. You're better than any LLM that I use. That's pretty awesome. Okay.
For now, man, we're in trouble going forward.
Yeah. All right, next week, our guests include John Mullins, PhD, London Business School professor and author of Break the Rules, the 6 counter-conventional mindsets of entrepreneurs that can help anyone change the world. We have Ryan Atay, CEO of Tableau. Again, best CEOs come on Disrupt. And Leslie Zane, author of The Power of Instinct, the New Rules of Persuasion in Business and Life. Again, last year, as a reminder, we had 70 authors, many best-selling authors on the show. I think this year we're going to surpass the 70 number. So if you're interested in learning about best-selling authors in person, live, this is where you want to be. If it's Friday, it's DisrupTV. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.